Hi, we are King.
And you're listening to Day One Radio.
The business.
Welcome back to another episode, another installment of Day One Radio, right here on ablradio.com. That's Art Beats and Lyrics Radio to be exact. Make sure you download the very free, very accessible smartphone app for your iPhone and your Android devices. And B, tell them where they can check out the entire Day One Radio catalog.
You can always find us on day1radio.com, iTunes, Spreaker, SoundCloud. Anywhere else you can find podcasts, you can always find us, and also hit us up on our social media at Day One Radio. And this week, man, I'm excited. I think this is a first. We've been doing this for 3 years. We always talk about how we do not have enough women representing on the podcast. And now we have back-to-back guests that are women, that are talented and super dope, too. Not just, we need a woman to come on, so let's get somebody that's, kind of doing some cool shit. So we got 3D Na'Tee last week, and now we got a group that we've been trying to get on the show for at least a year now, and they're here in Atlanta, the ladies of King. How are y'all doing?
Hello, we are good.
Hi.
Yeah. They just got off the road, so we're going to have to get them a little hyped up. They like chilling in chill mode, saving their voice for the show tonight and all of that, man. So, being from Minneapolis and LA, like there's so much musical synergy between those cities if you really do your history. But how did the three of you all, well, we know two of y'all met in the womb, but how did you guys meet Anita?
I actually met Anita really briefly in college. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Okay, so y'all real musician stuff. Right.
Yeah, I was a senior, she was a freshman, and we just happened to cross paths really quickly. But I heard her sing for a couple seconds and was just blown away. I graduated, moved to LA, and ran into her again at a jam session like on the whole other coast. And we just started kind of hanging out as friends. And us being so musical, part of hanging out was writing songs and playing songs and kind of showing each other music. So it kind of developed into a really natural friendship. And then when Amber came to visit, the three of us together just sounded really special. So we decided to keep it going.
Gotcha. Being that there's a twin thing and you came to visit LA and saw your sister was working with this girl you ain't know, it was cool? Or you was like, hey, man, who is this?
Oh, no, it was amazing. I think that before I had moved out to LA, I had heard all the things that they had kind of been like working on and writing together. So it was amazing just the three of us getting together in person and connecting. So it was all love right from the beginning.
That's dope. That's really dope. Obviously, everybody, because a lot of times with press, they got to figure out how to peg you and figure out how to sell you to their crowd. So the name that you guys are always connected to, no matter what, is Prince. So the story
Which is not a bad thing.
No, not at all. Because Chingy could have discovered y'all, and then it would have been some other stuff. No disrespect to Chingy. One call away was a jam. Anyway, so, the story goes that he found some of your stuff on YouTube. Is that how it actually went, or is that just like the industry story or whatever?
I mean, as far as we know, he said he found it on the internet.
Okay.
Did he ever specify what site? I think he just said the internet, and he's like,
It probably wasn't YouTube, because I don't think Prince liked YouTube too much. Like,
that's true. He could have been on YouTube making sure his stuff wasn't on YouTube and then discovered y'all.
Might have been the case. I guess we're not exactly sure. But he heard it, loved it, and reached out to us. He had his manager reach out, and he flew us out to North Carolina, actually, where he was doing his show like that day. We just kind of hung out after the show. He told us he was a huge fan of the music and wanted to provide us with whatever we needed in order to keep it that honest and pure to us. So he really stepped up and made it possible for us to create the way we wanted to put it out the way we wanted to. He was just an amazing ally.
And that's a big part of what you guys do. I know very early on, and for probably the bulk of your career as a group, everything was self-contained, from the business side to the creative side. What was it that in a business where everybody's trying to sign a deal and work with this person and work with that person, what was it that made you guys say we want to keep this in-house and protect our art?
Well, initially starting out, we knew that was important just because it was a strong statement that the three of us together just were getting together and just doing what came naturally to us, and we didn't want to mess that up in any way. But it was never like, oh, we'll never sign, we're anti-label. We're always for working with people who can really understand your goals, really understand like the music and help get you to the next level. So it was never like, we'll never sign or anything. It was just like, if we meet the right people at the right place that truly understand what we're trying to do here, then it's all good.
You sound like, bro, I don't know you like that, dog. You have to get cool first, man. Let me know what you're talking about first, bro. Just don't be throwing stuff in my face.
Right, for sure. So, you guys got an opportunity. I think the first time I'd have heard of you is when Prince was doing that string of shows at the Forum in LA, and you guys got to open. Describe that experience, because that was one of those things where he just kept doing shows like night after night after night, and I knew people who went like 6-7 times. Like, hey, it's here, it's Inglewood, I'm going. So how was that opening for such a legend on that big of a platform?
Incredible. Like, it was our first show ever. So,
are you serious?
Yeah, so we
just putting out the EP.
Oh,
yeah. It was, yeah, so we put out the EP. That was like our first show as King. So walking out there, it was like first audience was 17,000 people, but it was really under his wing. Like, he would come to our rehearsals, because while the shows were taking place for that 21 nights at the Forum, we had a rehearsal space at the Forum, so we were there for, I think, 19 out of the 21 nights.
Wow.
We saw the show like 19 times. We were there during the day, eating up catering, hanging out with Prince, and he would come to our rehearsals and dance around and make suggestions about like keyboards and kind of, when I say under his wing, it was everything down to like his suggestions for dress and makeup and jewelry, and he just had a very specific idea in mind. So it was just an amazing thing for your first show to be under the care of someone who was such an amazing artist.
Being that you are totally in love with what you do, you have a clear idea of who you are, is there room to tell Prince like, hey, bro, I don't know about that one. I kind of like how I was doing it. Or is it a thing where you're just like, Prince, we trust everything you're saying right now. We're going to do whatever you say.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, he was so, I feel like, into everything that, we were kind of showing him, and he respected us so much.
He definitely made suggestions, but there was also just as much of him asking us what we wanted to do and trying to find ways to make that happen. So I think there was a few things where we were like, oh, not really our style or whatever. And he was totally cool with that. It was just such a truly respectful relationship.
Right.
That's dope. Everyone has Prince stories. We had Devon Houston on here who directed this film Outkast. If you guys haven't seen it, you have to see it, on like the first and only biggest black outlaw motorcycle gang in the world. Excellent documentary, but he also does a bunch of like video and movies and stuff, and he actually shot a movie with Prince that has not seen the light of day.
Wow.
And he had like this crazy story about, y'all can go back and listen in the archives about this whole outfit thing. What is like the funniest Prince story you guys have?
Funniest Prince story? What's the funniest Prince story?
Probably the dancing one, Amber.
Oh, the first time we met him.
Yeah. He's just really a funny guy. You're not going to be like hanging out with him, I feel like, and not laughing. But the first day when he flew us out to North Carolina for the 21 nights in North Carolina, we were in like a VIP section, like right against the stage. So, you're like getting there, and this is our first time seeing him live.
Yeah.
And it was just such an emotional experience. So you're going through every emotion while dancing to this music that has soundtracked your whole life. But meeting him after the show, we were waiting in the green room, and he walks in, and he looks at me, and he was like, "You weren't dancing."
Oh.
And I'm just
You were out there dancing so hard.
right.
And then you get all paranoid, like, could he see?
Right. I
Freaking out his whole concert. But yeah, no, he was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So much fun.
One night I told him to have a good show because it was like one of the nights in LA. You know, you're just like, "Oh, have a great show." And he looked at me and he was like, "You think I won't?" And I was like,
Yeah.
That's funny. I could see I think everyone who ever encountered him has some kind of a story. Like I was I had never got a chance to see him perform, and I actually went to the last show.
"Wow."
Not knowing at all,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
that would be the last show. And I was so happy because if you love music, there's nothing worse than not getting to see one of your favorite artists or even a great artist perform live.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, you guys dropped the first EP, 3 songs, and immediately your fans were like, "Yo, what, 3 songs? That's it? That's all we get?" What was the whole logic behind, and great songs, but what was the logic behind just giving them a little bit and letting them sit with that?
Well, that was our first release, so we didn't have fans before.
But it was people, like, even doing research for this, like, I would go back and just see on message boards, like, people, like, saying they had heard this or heard that, and who are these girls, or whatever, like, that random stuff.
Yeah.
So y'all definitely had people that were looking.
Yeah, after the EP came out.
Yeah.
Before the EP came out, it was really just kind of like we'll put these songs together for homies and parents.
Gotcha.
And, you know, cousins and stuff. It was just kind of a collection. Those were the 3 songs I think that we had. They were just the ones that we worked on. We had more in mind, but these 3 seemed really to kind of sum up like who we were. And it just seemed like a cool idea to put out just like a sampler and just, you know, while we were working on the rest of the stuff, just have a 3-song EP.
Did the reaction, like, you know, go over and beyond your expectations? Because, like, when I first heard about it, like, I thought I was, like, super late. I was like, oh, man, you know, they got, like 3 albums. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to go back and dig. And I was like, oh, shit, I think I heard everything there is to hear. Goddamn.
We couldn't have called it, couldn't have imagined that. It was insane. That we put out the EP, and on that day, it was just like floodgates opened up, and we were just sitting looking at each other like, did this happen? Is this for real? It was, I think, Fonte was one of the first people who we've always listened to like just start talking about it. We're like, oh my God, Fonte. And then like a few minutes later, Questlove, and then a few hours later, I think Erykah Badu, and all the way to Prince, just all these people identifying with the music. And I think that was this huge validation because it was just the 3 of us sitting in, like, I say home studio. Back then it was just like my bedroom, just chilling, making music, and then have all these people who you've looked up to for so long connect with it just meant the world.
Yeah, that's got to be a hell of a, like, you know, starting point almost. I mean, I'm pretty sure you would have been nice and happy if, like, you know, some girl at the mall would have ran up on y'all like, I love y'all music. It got me through my day to day. But you see Questlove and Erykah Badu and all these folks like, oh, this my shit. You know what I'm saying? That's a hell of a starting point right there.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, and people, like, really, really appreciate what you guys do. We had Eric Roberson on probably, like 3-4 months ago, and we literally had, like, on air, like, a whole conversation about what you guys were doing and the music that you were writing and producing. And he was like, trust me, like, some months from now, years from now, whatever, people are going to look back and be like, they are great
Wow.
Oh my
in
God.
this thing.
Well,
That's so nice.
yeah, actually, he was like the first person to hear it, and it was like by accident. Did he tell you about that?
Nah, he didn't say did he say how he heard it?
I don't think he just went straight into praise mode about it. He didn't really, like,
I was working at my day job. I went to take my lunch break or something and saw him in a restaurant, and I was like, oh my God, that's Eric Roberson. And I think maybe in advance of putting the EP out, I had printed 100 copies of the EP. And I was like, can I just give this to you? Like, we're such big fans. And he was like, oh yeah, sure. And then I think he thought it was like a full record, so he gave me $20. And I was like, are you sure? He's like, no, I'm fine. And later on, he told me, he was like, oh, that was just 3 songs. Like, I thought I overpaid, but when I heard it, I realized I didn't. But it was incredible to he was so nice. He listened to it and he said as soon as he put it on in the car, like he hit me up and was just like, wow, this is incredible. So the relationship with him is a long-standing one. Such like a real supporter. He's like family, and we're honored to have worked with him on his last record. I mean, he's just a wonderful person.
That's dope, man. So how long was it before you guys were like, oh, this is for real, like we can quit our jobs and like be for real full-time musicians?
I think doing it independently, you still have to, like whatever means that takes for any artist. Like I don't know if it's so much a matter of like stopping your day job. It's just whatever propels you to get to where you want to be in your musical career. And like being that, we released our album on our own label, it's just so many different like tiers that, it's not about so much stopping a phase. It's just how do you get to that next phase,
The journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, though. So what, like, obviously, Paris, you produce and write a lot. What is you guys, when you guys sit down to record, and you're on the road constantly, so I'm sure you're always thinking of songs and things of that nature. What is our process like, your creative process?
It's usually different for all the different songs. Like they're all kind of born in different ways, which is kind of funny. Some are just like drums, some start off with melody, some start off with chords, and some will just be lyrics. But it always is the three of us just coming together and putting our favorite ideas forward. And so for a time, like, it would be either we're text messaging lyrics or FaceTiming or on the phone if we're not together. And it's always one part kind of leads to the next. So it was never just like, oh, guys, here's a track, write to it. Or here's a song, make a beat to it. It was always very layered. So it'll be, music, and then they'll write to the music, and then I'll write to what they wrote. And it's all just very much kind of put together like a quilt.
Dope. So the album came out in February, got great reviews, great reaction. I think both of us were at the show, the last show here in February, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how has kind of life changed since you guys put out a full project?
It's really been an amazing journey too. I think that a lot of people were waiting for it, and we're really, really glad that we took the time that we did take to put it out exactly the way we did and with all the music that was on it. And I think having the experience of putting together a full body of work really kind of solidified what we're doing, that people so much love the full album as much as they love the EP really meant the world, and I think is part of one of the cornerstones of things that keeps pushing you forward to make more music.
Yeah, because I was like being at that show, like that was the first time in a long time I've seen like grown ass men like singing the words to songs. I ain't ashamed to say I was one on. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it was a trip seeing that, because usually dudes are kind of just chill, like I'm here with my lady, I'm going to live here sing the songs, I'm going to chill out in the back with my drink. But there were grown ass men in there just trying to like match the harmony.
We see that too, and it means so much. And I feel like I haven't had a chance to say this, but when I see that many black people in a room singing along to the story, it changes me. Mm-hmm. Like for real. Like it just is. You can't. I don't know.
Yeah, cause y'all bring like good vibes to the show. Cause I went to your first show and the last show, and like both times it just really felt like you were just encompassed in this black love and good energy in there. You know what I'm saying? Even the people that was selling stuff, usually go to a show, you're like, y'all selling something that ain't got nothing to do with the music, man. Why are you trying to sell me some Swisher Sweets at this? You know what I'm saying? But like folks be selling like shea butter and passing out health pamphlets. I was like, God damn, we're taking care of each other in here today.
Hilarious. That's funny. How is the show? Because I'm sure as you go on, you're doing bigger venues. So kind of how have you guys adjusted to rocking for bigger crowds and just tweaking the show as you go along, seeing what works? Because when I watch y'all perform, it really seems like y'all are like completely and totally in the zone during performance. But I'm sure you're peeping what's going on at the same time.
I think, we like intimate, like, sharing with, like, our fans. So I think if we can kind of keep that energy, and the crowds may grow, but still keeping that same, like, really welcoming everyone into you know, what we're doing. If you're at the show, like, you know, we need you here with us. So, like, keeping it, you know.
We have a lot of fun kind of getting the show together, and for people who really listen to the record, kind of having little treats and stuff, you know, different arrangements, and you know, it's just the live representation of all the work that we put into the record. So kind of making it visually appealing and having fun with it, and just doing everything that we'd want to hear live.
Now, is your stage presence by design? Because like both times I noticed, I was like, okay, they ain't gonna be up here dancing too tough. You know what I'm saying? They kind of, you know, they get to the point, they do their thing, but it seems like you almost allow for the crowd to do the dancing for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all might be standing there singing to the microphone, but everybody else is like, I'm going to do my routine to this shit. You know what I'm
saying? So amazing. No, we have some dancers and some singers, and it's incredible to see that it moves people to move, you know. It's great. It's a party. We love it.
So cool.
It definitely is. Do you guys have a favorite city that you like to perform in?
We always have fun here.
Yes.
Atlanta's always lit, but...
Are y'all just saying that because you're in Atlanta right now?
No, we actually love
like yesterday, it was like, Nashville is the shit. Love being here.
Nashville was amazing.
It was our first time in Nashville. That was insane for first time crowd. But Detroit, both times we played there, completely, like, almost couldn't perform, just like overwhelmed. Like, are you guys serious? Like, we almost probably didn't have to sing a word. They sang every single word to the concert, even stuff that's not we even put out. So it's just like, wow, okay. Some real, I mean, this tour has been amazing. This run has been really incredible. Like, every city's been great, but we're really excited to play here again.
Right. You guys do a lot of creative stuff with what you put out, from the animated videos, which we'll get to even like the presentation for the album artwork, the orange vinyl and everything. Like, is there someone in the group that's into the visual design, or is that all of you guys' decision? Like, we want to do a little something different for the fans.
Well, we all kind of brainstorm, but
you did.
I do all the.
Hey, like, girl, take your props.
No, a lot of creative direction comes straight from Paris, and she has such an eye and a vision for, you know, the full form of whatever we're working on. So,
well, it makes sense then to get into the video. Like, what was the reasoning behind doing 3 animated videos? And the videos are dope. Like, you can tell, like, a lot of time went into making these videos. So what, like, a lot of artists, they want to be on the forefront, like, hey, look at me, this is what we look like, buy what we selling, buy the album, come to the shows. But it seems like you're making the music more of the story than anything with the animated videos.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, we wanted to, I mean, the music feels like a land you can go to, and we're trying to kind of create these landscapes that people can just completely immerse themselves into. You know, it's not about selling any one of us as like, you want me, listen to my music. It's just like, welcome to this land that we've created for you. And I think that a lot of the music, I don't know, we didn't want to be confined by whether you'd be able to go to another planet to shoot something, you know what I mean? Like, being able to meet up with these creative individuals who can match what we're doing musically, visually, has been an amazing experience. And, you know, really just kind of exploring, pushing all bounds of creativity, you know, in all different forms of art, and hopefully it inspires people to draw more or to, you know, exercise that creativity that we all have.
Like, you know, what drew you guys towards, like, I guess, 'cause I saw it described as like a 16-bit sound one time. Like, it sounds like a 16-bit video game. Like, what drew you towards, like, I guess, that kind of, you know, that sonic element that's, you know, so dominant throughout some of your music?
Product of being an 80s baby. Loved everything aesthetically, sonically. A big influence of mine is like literally 16-bit video games. I still play. We have a 64 on the bus. I'm like back there. But, you know,
GoldenEye.
Oh, yeah, that's going down. But, you know, just wanting to kind of explore some unusual elements of the music. You know, instead of just being okay, we have bass, drums, keyboards. We wanted to use a bunch of really different instruments and different textures and tones and stuff, and we're so influenced by so many different genres, not just video games, but film scores and soundtracks and new wave, new age, you know, classical music. electronic music. So I think all of it kind of comes into this big melting pot that ends up being King.
Dope. No, Amber, I remember listening to an NPR interview probably a couple years ago, and how you were saying like you were super shy, like you didn't want to perform, you didn't want to do none of that. Like, how did you get over that?
I think you have to surrender to life, and you really have to open yourself. I mean, it's either you do or you don't, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can't. I mean, it's for me, you know, like for what it was, it's just like fear and being shy. That's not enough to, you know, I think kind of, you know, Prince really helped us with that. And, you know, you have to walk in faith, you know, of what you're doing. And there's really no time for, I think with everything that's been going on, like I actually have not had time to be, you know, fearful. So
right.
Like, if I ever get a second, I might just be like, oh my God. But, you know, everything is happening in real time, and it's like you have to accept it or you don't. You know what I mean?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Did you, and it seems like all of you guys seem kind of like laid back and chill to an extent. So to be, you know, people that perform constantly has to kind of be, is it a thing where like, who you are on stage is like another part of your personality? Like you get on the stage and it's like, oh, okay, I'm cool with this too.
I think that we're all really laid back and very chill and keep it here. But if you hang out with us, it's a really good time. We like to party. We like to have a lot of fun. And I think that's the side that comes out on stage. Like, you know, chill parties, but parties.
Dope.
Grown folk shit.
Nice.
Looking at the album, one of the things I found interesting is that you guys got it mastered by Bryant, Big Bass Bryant,
Yeah.
which, you know, I think that's the liner notes generation that knows who this guy is. But I first remember him being mentioned by DJ Quick. And then I went back and looked and was like, my God, he's worked with everyone in the world. Like from Miles Davis to Ice Cube. Like, what was that experience like? And kind of what did he bring to the table, being that he's touched so many different sonic things when it came to mastering the album?
It was so cool to work with him and to know that he had that track record. You know, I mean, everybody. Michael Jackson, everybody. We were actually... By the time we got the album mastered for what was actually the fourth time we got the album mastered, because
oh wow,
yeah, I mean, you know, we worked on it for like 5 years, and I think the first version of the album was maybe minus 4 or 5 songs, and new songs were being added, so we had, you know, ended up having to keep going in to get it mastered. But the final time we got it mastered was his last day ever, like working at.
He retired.
Yeah, he
at
retired.
Bernie Grumman, yeah.
Yeah, so
wow.
that was the last project he ever did at Bernie. So. That was an honor.
I had no idea. That's amazing. Jules.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, Anita, do you not talk? What's going on? You ain't said that. Like, you ain't said. You don't like us?
No, this has been fun. I'm here.
Okay. All right. I'm saying. So, how is it for you working with two incredible women that are twin sisters? Because I'm sure they have all kind of little idiosyncrasies that you ain't aware of because you haven't been there since toddler age. Like, how is it for you working with them on that level?
Oh, I mean, I like to consider myself a sister too.
Dope.
So
we made up for lost time.
Okay. Dope.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine doing this with anybody else.
That's what's up. What do you guys see? Like, I feel like this is almost like uncharted territory for music, where you have 3 women who write, produce, get along, perform, and the whole nine, and are taking the time with music. Like, nobody's packaging you guys to be like the next this or the next that. So where do you guys see the future of what you guys are doing?
Hopefully, you know, we have a really long, outstanding body of work. I lost Stevie Wonder or something. I want people in future generations to be able to go back and revisit this music all the time. And, you know, stretching out, working on music for film and TV, and, you know, really just finding different ways to kind of introduce the King sound to the world.
You guys have been very, very, at least from the outside looking in, it seems like selective in who you work with outside of your current, situation? How do you pick like who you guys will lend vocals to or lend tracks to or whatnot?
Luckily, everyone we've worked with has been family so far. So we produced that song for Bilal. Bilal's,
They're my favorite singer song.
That's our bro.
Can't talk about our love of him enough. Robert Glasper's fam, Eric Roberson, Corinne Bailey Ray is as close as any sister. She's everything. Love her. So all these people are really, it's been friendships that were like, we're here, got some keyboards, work on some music. But we haven't crossed into like, okay, I definitely want to work with that guy, or like write a letter to him. It's always just been very, very kind of the people who we know and love really well.
I'm sure that people have heard y'all and want that sound for themselves, though. For sure.
Sure.
And that's how we'll stay. So a lot has been made, I think, this probably for like the last 12 months or so about R&B's resurgence, or R&B not being what it used to be because of the different things we hear on the radio. Do you guys have a take on just like the current state of soul music or R&B music?
I feel like the current state of everything is different, and with touching on the like uncharted territory thing, I think that in the age of information, that we're in and we're still entering, like you're allowing people to be themselves. So,
Yeah, it's a cool climate right now.
Right.
I think that people are a lot less inhibited by someone saying you're the next this and it has to sound like this or you use that. I think that with the internet, everybody has access to their own fans and they get to make whatever they want to, and then the fans are attracted to you because you said something that they already are feeling.
Exactly.
So it's a really cool time to be out right now, because you just, even being out in the world, you get the sense that not a lot of people have something behind them that's motivating to make what they're making. They're just making it because they want to.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's great for soul music. I think a lot of times that's what is the detriment to some hip-hop music, unfortunately, because it's like you can just go in and do what you want to do and say what you want to say.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you really can't make a good R&B record unless you can sing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what is the song, because you guys are creators, what is the song that you've heard, even if it's recent or back in the day, that you wish you would have produced or wish you would have wrote?
I just said this yesterday. I just said this. Sensitivity by Ralph Tresvant.
What?
Yeah.
That is so not to let. You must explain. You have to expound on
You
that.
guys know that song. It's
Of
amazing.
course.
All of that chord change,
Good goes.
Yeah, that chord change. I mean, that whole song is so jamming. I was just on
Anything
cloud nine.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And like they're the ultimate. They are the ultimate.
Definitely. I mean, being 80s kids though, growing up in Minneapolis, like what was that vibe like? Because I was in California, you was out here, but I can only imagine being in a city that produced Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Prince and Alexander O'Neal. Like, what was the energy like during that time?
To me, my childhood is so connected to the Minneapolis sound. Like it is what growing up in Minneapolis to me was. It is the texture of 4 extreme seasons in 3 minutes. It's like, and with, cookouts and everything else involved, like you think about Sounds of Blackness and Soul Holidays, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the extremeness of the Midwest and the work ethic and
I think, wasn't it Prince was talking about, like, or I think it was Prince saying that, like, it gets so cold in Minnesota, like, you don't have any other choice but to go inside and make music. Like, you're just in there.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, but in being kind of like a smaller, big city, I think that it was, like, you grew up knowing that the people from Sounds of Blackness were up the street. We grew up knowing Mint Condition and being able to, I was going in to sit in with those guys when they were playing at, like, their weekly Latin jazz thing, and just kind of getting to know the people on that level, or having your music teachers have gone to Central with Prince, So it was like a lot of oral tradition, a lot of people, but it was always seemed within reach to an element. Like, we never met Prince growing up or anything, but just knowing that he was from, like, you could drive by his house and knew where it was.
Right.
was
And then you're only
incredible.
so many people removed from stories, or from people that have personal encounters and stories with him, and like, oh, I used to do his hair, or, you know,
Wow.
whatever have you. But I also think, you know, moving to LA too, I think it's like the perfect place to be outside of Minneapolis. Like, it was kind of like pulling the same energy from a whole different place, you know, now breaking into like the sunniness of, you know, summer all the time, and, you know.
It's like them characters on 90210.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah, I mean, it's a lot of similarity. I mean, if Prince is connected to any city that half as much as Minneapolis, it's LA, from you know, the Glam Slam Club and him being out there forever, and people have so many crazy stories about him doing wild shit in LA. But even now, you have people that are around you guys' age, around all our age, that are doing great musical things in LA, from, you know, Kamasi and Thundercat to Terrace Martin and all these guys, and the new cat Sir and all of that. Like, I could definitely see you guys thriving in that area as well. And it looks like y'all will be the next, you know, people to be in that lexicon of Minneapolis music legends.
Millions of the world.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Most definitely. So before we leave, because I know you guys gotta get ready for your show, I need all of you guys, and you can do it collectively or individually, to give me your top 5 R&B groups ever.
I thought you were about to ask him the freestyle. I was like, what you about to ask him?
Y'all can do that too if you want to.
Groups.
Groups ever, and you can do it collectively or individually.
Okay. SOS Band.
Okay, SOS Band. That's a great one.
Oh, didn't we did this? I mean,
R&B groups.
Yeah.
Tony.
oh yeah,
Oakland, for sure. I like that.
TLC. Crazy Sexy Cool was everything when it came out.
I mean, this is probably just mine alone, but for me, Immature was a huge
Same,
thing, and
yeah.
I don't think that
Wow.
if I mean, maybe they, I don't know, I don't talk about them enough, as much as I should, as much
Right. As much as we listened to them
Right.
and had their CDs for every, like, that was like the thing to get us on Christmas was Immature CD. So
Right.
not gonna front about it. That was big.
No,
All
that's
right,
what the shit
Marquise
is.
Houston, if you hear this, you need to go on and buy a King album. Tell everybody to buy it.
I'm going to say Earth, Wind, and Fire, too.
yes.
Yeah, totally.
Wow, that is about as diametrically opposed of a list as you could possibly come up with. I like it. I like it 100%. Please tell the people where they can find you, and most importantly, where they can buy your music.
You can find us at weareking.com, and on social media it is at weareking.
Dope. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Of course, you were listening to Day One Radio on ABLradio.com, and we will see you next week with another dope show.
Thank you.
Thank you.